Well, the state of the economy was just one of David Cameron's troubles as he arrived in Cardiff this weekend for the Conservative Spring Conference. His MPs are turning increasingly restless over his tactics on Libya, his U-turns on prisoner votes and forestry, and plenty more. So it's not just Nick Clegg who's having problems with backbenchers complaining about coalition policies. As our political editor Gary Gibbon reports, Tory leaders are growing more worried about dissent in their own parliamentary ranks and how much worse it could get.
David Cameron's been dropping in on his MPs in the Commons tea rooms, asking them round to his place for drinks. Word has reached him that Tory MPs are not a happy bunch. David Cameron doesn't have the authority of a party leader who swept his party to outright victory. And some of his MPs aren't quite sure what political journey they are on.
What would you say is the mood of Conservative backbenchers at the moment?
I think there's I think the mood is quite fragile.
You find plenty of Tory MPs complaining that the coalition with the Liberal Democrats has left them feeling that they're out in the cold.
It's true to say that I think that there are Conservatives, both in Parliament, but probably much more numerously in the country, who do feel that on traditional Conservative issues, whether it's Europe or law and order, that their voice has been silenced over the last 9 months.
That could be potentially further down the line quite dangerous for David Cameron, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sure he's very much aware of that.
Many Conservative MPs say they feel marginalised by the coalition. They argue that David Cameron, with so many Lib Dem MPs' votes in his pocket, feels he doesn't have to consult them. David Cameron's been trying to address that with what's been called a Twiglets and Chardonnay charm offensive. But it's not got the job done. The other big gripe you hear from Conservative MPs is that they feel they're not hearing enough about traditional Conservative policy areas. Crime, defence, Europe, the family.
The case for those policies still needs to be made so that a future Conservative government will get a manifesto commitment in order to implement those policies.
And are you worried that case is not being made? The Conservative voice is muzzled at the moment.
Well, I don't think it's muzzled from the Conservative backbenches.
Many Tory backbenchers were uncomfortable with David Cameron's half-hearted campaign in the Oldham East by-election, effectively lending some Tory support to the Lib Dems there. And they were furious when a cabinet minister briefed anonymously that an electoral pact with the Lib Dems at the next general election might be a good idea.
I've got no doubt about the validity of that briefing, and what is clear is that these issues I think are unhelpful for parliamentary discipline, parliamentary morale, and indeed the morale of the party at large.
We hear ill-advised comments from cabinet members about how comfortable they are with the coalition, how about the fact that this isn't just something that is that's temporary, it's going to last 1,000 years or whatever, that we've heard those words before. Those rumours, those stories are deeply worrying for many of my colleagues.
Talking to Tory MPs, you quickly pick up a sense of a generational difference as well. Many of the new MPs who came in 2010 fought their seats unsuccessfully a few times beforehand. Many of them are sitting on fairly small majorities. They tend to look down warily to their seat more than their predecessors, look up to the whips and the wielders of patronage a bit less. Many of them have already spoken out or rebelled more than previous generations of Tory MPs, and this government is not even 1 year old.
Whilst I want to make sure this government can deliver the things that we need to deliver, both for the country and to put us in a good position for the next election, ultimately we also need as parliamentarians to be a check on the executive and scrutinising and asking questions. And those two things aren't mutually incompatible, but I do think you'll hear more from the new intake talking about the latter and not just the former.
There could be more outspoken criticism, perhaps occasionally more voting against the whip than we've seen before.
More debate.
There's a strong mood of anti-politics out there. And frankly, if you're a Member of Parliament and you want to A, be reselected and B, be re-elected, you mustn't just position yourself in terms of how high up the greasy pole you climb in Westminster. You've also got to position yourself as a distinct local brand and perhaps even position yourself as somebody in opposition to Westminster.
But right now, the biggest worry on just about every Tory MP's lips is the alternative vote referendum in May. They worry that Nick Clegg will get his way, a change in the voting system. A change that one senior Tory MP told me would be like a dagger to the heart of the Conservative Party. It would never hold power outright again, he said. It's not hard to imagine what that sort of result would do to the standing of David Cameron with his backbenchers. Gary Gibbon, Channel 4 News, Westminster.